Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Friday. How we doing, Johnny Mo?
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that thing is on. I'm great. How are you?
I can't complain. Listen, I think it's funny, right? And the reason I did that is because what comes out of the back end of our producing department, of our editing department, the production department, is the final product, and it looks good, right?
Yep.
But what we see coming in,
Oh yeah.
man, we got people cussing, swearing, being frustrated, and everything else like that. And the end product, right, is all that the consumer ever sees.
Yep.
Nobody ever sees the frustrations that goes into it, or the struggles, or the difficulties. And the thing is, we all have them. We all have
Oh
them.
yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to sit there and watch people. I don't want to say struggle like I'm enjoying in their
No.
misery, right?
No.
But it's
No.
like, wow, I can relate to that
Yep.
because I say those words too.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. Like you're mid sentence and you mess it up, and the immediate reaction is whatever comes out of you naturally. It's a 4-letter word and a hand gesture and a head movement. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget the very first podcast I recorded. It was Jeff and I, and about halfway through it, his dad busts through the door of Jeff's office. Who's getting the kids? What time is it? What are you doing? It's time. It's time. And I'm like, oh, this is the middle of a podcast. Like, thankfully the beauty of editing made that all go away. But I'm, very first one we shot, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh crap, like this is gonna be fun.
That's great.
So
Right.
it happens. We all screw up. We screw up many times. Yesterday we screwed up some videos and we're telling jokes in between takes, and I'm sure that was all recorded. So
Yeah. Listen, life is a trial run.
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got to have some fun. And
Yeah.
I will say, now that I have fun making video, it's just that much easier to do, and I enjoy doing it that much.
You know what I
Because like
think it is?
a year ago, I never would have done this. This would have been, no way we would have gone live and just put it all out there raw and unedited. But
I think
all good.
I think you've taken a massive step in two directions. And both are vital in my opinion. One is that you overcame that fear, right? That
Yep.
fear of doing video, which is real.
It is real.
And you took a direction in not giving a crap about what other people's
Yep.
opinions of you are because you're doing it and they're not.
Yep.
Right. So one of them is like, and I say this a lot, I don't care. And I don't want you to think that I'm like 9. I don't care. It's not meant in a defensive way. I honestly don't care. I mean, I only care about, we are either on the same boat going in the same direction or we're not. I
Yep.
don't have time for those other boats anymore.
Yeah, and
I don't care. It doesn't involve me.
we had a meeting with the Explore My Town partners who are out there. They're shooting videos. They're out in the community. They're putting things out there. They're putting themselves out there and generating business from it. And there is that fear of the trolls, the people that are going to come in and say, "Oh, your video sucks," or "You look terrible," or "Your voice is awful," or "Your hair is bad." I mean, I had somebody tell me I needed a haircut a few weeks ago, which kind of cracked me up. But
Yeah.
but what I tell people all the time is embrace that. Like, first of all, that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. Like that is them coming in. They're mad at the world. They're mad at something and taking it out on you. So don't take it personally. But more importantly, it's a great chance to engage them. Oh, you don't like this restaurant that I took a video on? What's your favorite? Where should I go next? Or,
That's
oh, you didn't
I,
like this one? Well, check out this restaurant that I did a video of on recently. And now you're actually using it as an opportunity to show that not only are you a cool, calm professional, but you can also put more of your stuff in front of other people and engage other people. Because when people see that go down, what do they start doing? They grab their popcorn, start watching the comment section to see what's going to happen. They're waiting for the fight. Don't give them the fight, but engage the person in a way that's constructive.
yeah.
Because once you do that, they will shut up and go away because they realize that what they wanted, they're not going to get. But now everybody else is watching, and it's a great chance to continue to network.
Sometimes I like to play William Shakespeare, and I will be like, they said, oh, such and such town is a dump, or blah 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 blah, or it's gone downhill, or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I do believe that it would be your entire perspective of on which direction that the wind is blowing for you,
Mhm.
because the wind seems to be wafting a bellow of negativity coming my way right now.
Yep.
And I think that there are plenty of great places in that town. You just choose to frequent the shady ones. homes.
Yeah.
If you would like to help us spread a more positive word and get more positivity out there, we would love to have you included
Mhm.
in what we're doing. Or you can
Boom.
continue to spread negativity and living in the reality that you created for yourself,
Yeah.
right? Here you go, bro, because that is true,
It is.
right? And you can't come at me and say, "Oh, wow, this guy was a jerk." No, no, I wasn't a jerk. I
Yeah,
was real.
no, exactly.
I gave you some dadly advice.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into learnings from this week. So we've taken 4 more listings, like your little friend over your shoulder. We've taken 4 more listings since Monday, so we're at 38 listings right now, and it looks like there's going to be 2 more that are being signed. So we should hit 40 before the weekend's over. Uh,
That's great.
yeah, and it's coming alive. But um, we're now that a lot of those listings are on the market, most of them are on the market. Some are still kind of in that coming soon status.
Mm.
But a lot of those have hit the market, and what we're learning right now, the kind of learning number one is um, pricing property has changed over the last 2 or 3 years. You could literally put any price you wanted on a property, whether it was high, low, sideways, didn't matter. It would sell, and it
Mhm,
would generally sell for over asking because there's that massive scarcity of inventory.
mhm.
Now that interest rates are a little bit higher and buyers a little more sensitive, we actually have to think about pricing a property again and how we're going to do that.
And it appraising.
Well, yeah, that's the other part too, is that, the appraisers in many cases were kind of pencil whipping the appraisal because they knew the market was climbing at 3, 4, 5% a month. They couldn't keep up. So they were just calling it close enough and giving us the benefit of the doubt. So we're back to actually pricing property strategically. So there's generally 3 schools of thought pricing property. You price it high and you hope you draw that person out who's going to pay that price anyways. You price it at market and try to draw out a average number of people who are going to come and look at the property and you'll get an offer or two. Or you price it a little bit low to create that excitement that creates multiple offers and runs the price up.
Mhm.
So in this market, we've got sellers that really want to price high. And when we see people pricing high right now, that property is actually tending to sit because what happens is the buyer gets in the mindset of, well, that's my max. I could pay that, but I know it's going to go over asking because everything else has. So I'm not even going to bother looking at it because I know it's going to sell for more than that. And that'll put me out of my budget. So you do actually push a whole segment of the market away because they don't think of the list price as what it's going to sell for. They think of that as the starting point because of what they've experienced. So we're finding the houses that are at market or below market are the ones that are driving activity, are the ones that are getting multiple offers, are the ones that are getting a lot of eyes. And you also have to think about that relative to what's on the market right now so that the house you're listing is as competitive as possible to drive as much traffic to it as possible.
Yeah. Listen, nobody wants to overpay for anything,
Yep.
right? I mean, that's just human nature. Nobody wants to overpay for anything. And now there was a point that overpaying didn't penalize you much,
Right.
right? You could gamble.
Yeah. It costs very little to go over asking.
I'm not gambling at 6.5%.
Right.
I mean, I'm not gambling at another 3%. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I'm just not. But I've always been a big proponent of pricing the property fair. I don't
Yeah.
want to overprice it. I don't want to underprice it. I don't play that game.
Mhm.
I'm gonna price it. If it says that it's worth 425, 429 is cool. You know what I mean? Maybe 439 for a couple of weeks, see what the response is.
Yep.
And listen, I'm notorious for pricing high. People
Mhm.
tell me, "Oh, you're never going to get that for the property." But I do a thorough job. I look at the properties, right? I
Mhm.
get involved. It's not all 2,200 square foot homes built in 2005 are not the same,
They're not.
right? So when you can start to get in there and start to come at it with a quality approach, and you can say, I think I can get you 439. If you want to go 449 after I came in at 439, man, we got problems, right?
Yep.
You're them pushing the envelope. But I do believe in honestly pricing the property for what it's worth and letting the market is going to dictate what it's worth. People are
100%.
going to give you the 439, 429, or 449. They'll decide,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. And we're going to close on our second property in the same neighborhood in probably a 2-month span. The first
Mhm.
one set the record for the highest price in that neighborhood. This one's going to set the highest. This new one's going to set the highest price for that neighborhood because it had been renovated and updated since. So to your point, they're in the same neighborhood. They're almost identical homes, but one of them has been updated very recently, and the other one has not. And that's creating a gap in the pricing because again, buyers at 6.5% are a little bit more, I would say, cautious and paying a little bit more attention to the details than they were before. When they were doing it at 2.5%, 3%, They were fine going in and putting some money into the place if they had to and paying what they had to get it. At 6.5%, they want the place to be something they can live in right now because they're not going to have the budget remaining to go in and update it. So it makes a huge difference. But more than ever, how we price the property is important, and how it sits in the marketplace from a competitive perspective is more important than ever, because you need to be the house that has 30 cars at the open house, not 2.
I'm going to tell you something too. I always talk about things that nobody wants to talk about, and then they're like, "Oh, can't believe you talk about that," but they're truths.
Yep.
When you have a minimal amount of inventory in the market right now, it's almost like all eyes are on you.
Mhm.
And if you're full of poop, you're going to get that reputation amongst,
Yep.
you already have it amongst the realtors, right? Because we all do that to one another, but you're going to have that along the general public as well.
Mhm.
Oh, this person, their property sitter. Oh, this person doesn't get any listen. And heck, even Jeff was telling me about that, his own stigma. Oh, well, I don't see you listing a lot of properties around here, but I see your sign up in Rumford, right?
He is
So
the mayor up
here's
there.
one of the best teams in the state that still get this. So I know each individual agent
Yeah.
gets it.
It's
Okay,
real.
it's real. But all eyes are on you. So if you're going to take your photos with a cell phone, which you can take excellent photos with a cell phone, I'm not
Mhm.
going to fault. I teach people how to make video on their cell phone. Okay, I'm not going to fault
100%.
you. But step out of the car so the mirror's not in it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay to be lazy, but
And
just be really good at it.
don't take the picture straight on with the bathroom mirror, please.
Right, please. We don't need another one of them. Don't have the dirty dishes, the unmade beds.
Yeah.
I can't believe some of these two families. I swear to God, they want the
Oh.
property to sell for less so they can buy it. Right, but it's
Oh,
like, why
100%.
are you showing an unmade bed that's concaving? I think concaving in the
Yeah.
middle, right? That looks like it's 116 years old. Why is that picture on MLS?
Yeah.
So right now you're going to be exposed. I don't mean exposed like an expose, like where Project Veritas. I mean just exposed at your callousness,
Yeah.
your laziness, or your lack of attention, or your lack of creativity. Right, a great 3-bedroom home in an awesome neighborhood. People are going to see that. People are going to read that. Say, I don't want that guy writing that description of my house. you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. That's everybody writes that.
marketing, having a listing has always, and it will be till the day I take this to my grave. And I do believe that every real estate coach and leader believes the same thing.
Yeah.
Listings are marketing collateral.
Oh, huge.
Right? You're guaranteed to sale. You're going to get some buyers from it. It's going to go into your How many agents have a portfolio you present to your sellers that show these amazing photos? That
Yeah.
shows your portfolios of how you help people out of difficult situations and how you sold that really big, beautiful home.
Mhm.
So that attention to detail is a representation of you, right? So if you're going to want more money for a property, make that thing shine. You put excellent photos out there. You clean up a little bit. Omit photos. This is where put good descriptions. That way, when you do have that open house, there are 20 cars lined up. And if they get there and they say this place is a dump, you got them there.
Yep.
Right? You did your job.
Yep.
But I think so many times agents are just so in a rush to sign the listing agreement, get the sign out there. You know what I mean? That they're willing to go to jail, miss their $200, and all that other fun stuff, right?
Yep.
They miss these critical steps where it's like, man, you just did the hard work, you got the reward for the hard work. Now multiply that, right? That's just my take.
Yeah. Well, and it's like we continue to say, be the expert your client thinks you're going to be. Do those things that set you apart, that your client expects, that really make you that market expert. And I think a lot of times it's in our nature to go, and we're off to the next thing. And that's a personality thing. And sometimes we've got to slow down and realize there's a human being on the other side of this thing that has expectations of what we're doing. We want to make sure we show up in a way where they feel like they got the service that they signed up for, or it was that much better, so that when they talk about their experience selling a home, they rave about how great you were and send everybody your way. So
that's
and
I
that
mean, that's an extra bonus right there, right? So you got one piece that's going to be marketing, and then you have the other piece that is going to be relationship building.
Yeah.
That's the core of your business. That's the core of your business at the Matea Group,
Mhm.
right? We do an excellent job. We have a great reputation. we're going to give you, a lot of your business comes from your database,
Mhm.
right? And past clients and referrals. You only get those past clients and you only get referrals from past clients if they were heard and they
Yes.
felt appreciated and valued,
Yeah.
right? If you're
100%.
just in there, bang, 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 and you take shitty photos, you're not getting a damn thing.
Yeah.
You're not getting nothing.
Yeah. Because the experience was not good enough
Mhm.
or memorable enough for them to tell people about it. So
What they're telling everybody is, can you believe I paid this mother ever blank percent? And what did they do? Because that's their
right?
perception. Whatever the number is, they think you got all that,
Well,
which we
and
know that's not true. A percentage of it goes close to half, if not half, goes over here right off the bat to somebody else, usually. Lawsuits about that. But that's what's
yeah.
happened, right? It goes over here. And then you got your splits and your operational expenses and
Oh yeah.
team members and support staff and everything else like that. So it's not like you made this big bag of money. You got a slice of that big bag of money. But in
Yep.
their mind, I paid this mother effer X percent, and they took photos with my cell phone. I couldn't get a hold of them. They never called me
Yep.
back. I never heard from them. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. That's what, through surveys, people's opinions are.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I saw a post in one of those real estate groups the other day, and I want to say it was 70 or 72% of consumers don't think we provide enough value for what they pay us. And my response to that was, yeah, because in 72% of the cases we probably don't.
Mhm.
And in reality, that what that tells me is that there's a huge mismatch between what gets delivered and what the expectation is, and that's on us. Either we didn't set an expectation or we didn't deliver on the expectation. It's one of the two. But ultimately, you take that extreme accountability viewpoint of that's on us. It's not on the consumer to think we're worth what we are. It's on us to prove that we're worth what we are. And that is why when you go to a listing appointment, people want to beat you up on commission and beat you up on the length of the agreement, or they don't want to sign one, or they want to go FISBO because right now they think they can just stick a sign in the yard and sell it because in some cases they could. But ultimately, we have to prove the value for what we do by actually doing it at a very high level and doing it in a way where they don't feel like they could just go do it themselves.
So making a TikTok video where it goes, bam, 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 bam. You point to three things of
Mhm.
of what you do, or six things
Yep.
of what you do with that crazy music. That provides value, doesn't it?
Well, and honestly, and you bring up a great point. I think a lot of people are making those kind of silly TikTok videos because they're good for the algorithm to get them views, but the views aren't coming from people that are actually going to do business with them. They're coming from people that just find it entertaining. So, are you making content to entertain people, or are
Mhm.
you making content to actually help people?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us think that they're one and the same, and they're not. They're not even close.
I think that's one of the biggest. Now, don't get me wrong. I know several people that they just make content on TikTok and they get business from it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yep.
a living wage,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They're thriving
Yep.
on that. Not everybody is designed like that.
Mhm.
Not everybody is likable,
Yep.
right? Not everybody. I'm in that class. Okay. Not everybody has the right look, the right smile, the right mannerism to get that parasocial relationship going, right? And we've talked about this in our own circles. You're different than I'm different than Jeff's different. And we all each have our own uniquenesses and how I don't want to do that. And he doesn't want to do this, right? That's real stuff, right? That is real stuff. Not everybody's going to be like that. But my point about this is, so that I'm defending some of my friends. But my other point about this is there's a lot of people making a lot of mindless content because they're listening to these people say, you're going to need to put out content nonstop. Put out content. I'm so sick of the word content. I wish we could just go back. I
Yeah.
wish what's that effect? The Mandela effect would kick in on that word and it would just go away because the word, no, as a real estate agent, you don't
Yeah.
need to be creating 3 pieces of content per day.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's what overwhelms a lot of people. Like, oh, I don't have time to do it. Wait a minute, you don't have the time once a week for 2 hours to go build network relationships.
Yeah.
You don't have 1 hour twice a month to make a longer video and build relationships. So now you have content of value that you can put out there. So when
Are you
people
gonna
are
are you
searching,
gonna keep saying the word that way?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I'll argue with it because if you put out this mindless stuff, you're just
Yeah.
gonna tune the people out until they're gonna go to something else,
Yep.
right? So if it's always unless you're beautiful and you want to be or handsome, right? I don't want to offend anybody, and you want to become that thirst trap kind of thing. That's real too, right? Again, I'm not one of these people that would born with a six pack and, you know what I mean, dashingly handsome, right? I'm not Tom Selleck. People do confuse me with him when I go to the beach, but I'm not him.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
Hey,
All right.
Haw! Oh no, you're Hoss.
Yeah. All right, let's get this back on the rails, Johnny Mo.
Hey, all right.
Um,
Anyways, a lot of people just making wrong content, man. Make content with intent.
Yeah.
That's it. And use it for make relationships. Onward.
well, it gets back to being intentional. You know, make stuff with a plan. Don't just make stuff kind of scattershot because you feel like you have to. And if I see another video of somebody sitting in their car, doing some sort of voiceover goofy thing, I'm going to delete the app. Like I'm just so tired of seeing that kind of stuff. But because everybody's doing it, and all they're doing is they're grabbing the latest trend to try to get views. The views are meaningless and worthless, but you feel good because it's a vanity metric, and you're like, oh my goodness, look at all the followers and views I have. Now, how many of those people are actually going to do anything with you in the
Yeah, what's
future?
your call to action?
They're not, because most of those accounts are not in your area, not interested in real estate. Some of them are probably bot accounts. So you're creating this feeling of success and this feeling like you're getting somewhere, and you're just not. And more power to you for creating stuff in the first place. I applaud anybody that's just creating. That's the first step, because most people don't do that. But when you begin to create stuff, at least do so intentionally with a plan.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to the second learning here. So the first one was talking about how to price property. We need to think about pricing property competitively. The second one, and you kind of hit on it, was in some cases you're going to have sellers that do not want to price it the way you want to price it, and maybe they want to price it a little bit high.
Yeah.
And I know that's frustrating to some agents, because I just don't think I can sell it for that price.
Mhm.
But I learned this trick long, long ago from Jeff when I first got in the business, which is take the listing.
Mhm.
Agree to take the listing. But as you mentioned, have an agreement with the seller that if this doesn't happen in X number of days, then we do this.
Yeah.
And in many cases, get that signed at the listing agreement or at the listing presentation. So, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you want to sell your house for $450,000. I think it's worth $425,000. That's where it's going to get activity. But I would agree to list your house at $450,000. But if we don't have an offer in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then would you agree to lower the price to $429,000, $435,000, whatever the number is, wherever you think it needs to get to? And if they say, yeah, we would do that, we want to give it a try, great. Let's sign that now. So when the time comes, I'm not trying to chase you down and bother you to get another signature. Let's sign that now, and then we'll agree at the time to put it in place.
Mhm.
So in many cases, I've walked out of a listing appointment with a signed listing agreement and a signed price reduction that I am allowed to put into place at a certain point in time if the activity doesn't hit certain thresholds. So what that requires is the comfort to ask for that, and the preparation to be able to do that. But also, when the time comes, you need to be strong enough to go back to the client and say, hey, we agreed to this. It's time to do this. Because they may be like, oh, I want a little more time. I want, another week. This is what we agreed to. This was the agreement. This is what we sat down and did.
Yep.
And I know that is not always a comfortable position, especially in this marketplace, because you feel like, well, they're just going to fire me. And if that's the case and they fire you, being fired from a listing that's not going to sell anyways is not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah.
But if you can do it right, and in an advisory type role, showing them why that's good for them and getting them to agree to it up front, there should be no surprises down the road.
Yeah, and here's the best part about it all. You can say no too.
Mhm.
You can say, I'm going to call. How about I refer you to an agent who I think will be able to be a little bit more suited for you. Let him or her,
Right,
or them do all the work. Okay, let them do all that headache. You go on to something else. You always have that right. You always have
Yep.
that ability, right? But that your approach is the way that I would do it too.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah,
I'd
don't
write it right in the listing agreement.
absolutely. Yeah. And don't get in the habit of buying a listing by taking it at way too high a price, because then you're going to spend the money on the photos and the lockbox and the sign and the marketing and the prep and all that for a listing that's not going to go anywhere. And we see that happen all the time. We see agents take listings at prices that make no sense. In many cases, they know it doesn't make any sense. However, they just need the listing. They want the listing. And because of that, they take it. And it's frustrating. And it's frustrating to watch a property sit on market, because that's no good for the seller, no good for you. So just I would say don't get in the habit of buying the listing by taking a higher price. Set it up in a way where you can get to where it needs to get to.
Yep, 100%. Predict
So
the future.
exactly. And honestly, like as an expert, take control of the process. Do not let yourself be a passenger. Take control of the process because they want you to. And again, like you said, Johnny Mo, if they're like never going to do it, it's got to be at this price, and you're like, well, thanks for your time. It was great meeting you. You always have the option to walk away.
Yeah.
And in many cases, when you show them that you'll walk away, they earn a level of respect for you because you're not going to get pushed around. Which means when it comes time to negotiate for the price on their house, you're not going to get pushed around either.
Yeah. And I had a seller one time say to me something along the lines of like, well, I'm not sure I'm ready to sign yet today.
Hmm.
I looked right at him and I said, I agree. Neither am I. He says, well, what's that supposed to mean? I said, I haven't made up my mind whether I want to work with you or not. You know what I mean? Took the control right away from you.
Yep.
Yeah, I took full control. This ain't about you. This is about me. You know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think what is missing in our industry, I think any industry where we're dealing with the general consumer on high ticket items,
Mhm.
is confidence.
Totally.
And not just regular confidence, but confidence in control,
Mhm.
right? That, listen, you're an expert. You are a professional. You got to go in there. Like when I sit with my lawyer, I'm going to listen to my lawyer. When I
Right.
sit with my accountant, I'm going to listen to my accountant. When I sit with my financial advisor, I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to go in there, and work with somebody that's a little, well, I don't know if we go to court, I don't know. I want to know, hey, I think if we structure the business this way, that may, no.
Yep.
Listen, this is the best way to do it. And this is why. And
Mhm.
either I, as the consumer, believe in that person and want to do business with that
Right.
person, or I don't. And I think that confidence is missing in our business because it does have confidence. They're looking for every reason not to hire us. But
Mhm.
where if you flip that script in your mind and say, I need to remove every objection that they might have and prove my value, then we're flipping that negative connotation in our head, that confidence issue. And that confidence is across the board on everything, right?
Yep.
Speaking on stage, launching a new product, going to a listing appointment. Putting out any of that stuff requires confidence and self-belief in yourself. And I think if you went in there with self-belief, like, you'd be lucky to be working with me.
Mhm.
Not the other way around, but unfortunately there's no safety net in this business and everybody's
Right.
chasing that next commission.
And I was just going to say a lot of that, when you have confidence in your income and your pipeline and the fact that you're going to be able to pay your bills, when that scarcity mindset kind of fades away, you can then take that position of confidence and take that position of control because now you're not afraid. You're not afraid of, oh my goodness, I need a commission. Oh my God, I need a listing. If I don't sign this client, oh my goodness, what am I going to do in 60 days when I've got nothing coming in? When you've built up either other sources of income or a pipeline of clients and you've got that comfort knowing that like my bills are going to get paid either way, um, you can then sit from that position of you're not interviewing me. You think you're interviewing me. I'm interviewing you. And it's the
I'm
other way around
interviewing
because
you.
we are all guilty of it. I know I've done it several times where I have taken on a client that I'm kind of like, I don't know that I really want to work with this person, but I could really use another client in the pipeline. So what the hell? I'll give it a shot. And
Yeah.
every time I've done that, I have regretted it because it's been an awful, awful experience.
Yeah.
And it's in some cases it was because it was the person, but in some cases we just weren't a good fit. There's some times where you just don't hit it off great with a client, whether it's your communication style or personality types, or um, in which case I should have referred them off, or I should have done something differently, or in some cases I should have just outright said no.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I made the decision with the wrong parameters in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And even probably one of the most uncomfortable conversations is the commission conversation.
Yep.
You want to watch agents squirm? Ask them that question because I would love to have a camera on them and read their body language. 9 out of 10 times they're going to squirm, right? But people ask me all the time, "What's your commission?" I will not say a number here because that's like antitrust kind of stuff.
Right.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'm just not even going to go there. So I'm just going to use X. What's your commission? I charge X, or I make X.
Hmm.
All we have to do now And I close them at that. I make X. Are you okay with that? Yes, I'm okay with that. Okay, now all we need to do is decide how much you want to offer, if at all, to the buyer's agent,
Mhm.
right? Because that's the world that we live in. And I would suggest, based upon what I know, you might want to entice, and that's why it's there, right? You might want to entice them. You do have the option to say nothing. You
Yep.
do have that right to say nothing,
Yep.
right? But this is what my point of that is, this is what I charge.
Yep.
You okay with that? Good. We got that out of the way. Now what we have to do is determine how much you want to pay the buyer's agent, if at all.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Now that becomes the objection. You already took, let's say it's 6 apples. You already took three of the 6 apples out of the equation. All right. The rest is up. Rest is up to you. It's funny because one of the top agents in the state, who I had the luxury of learning from, we were talking one time about that conversation, and he said, "Listen, if I look at all your listing agreements and you're getting X and I'm getting Y, which was more, 1% more, what do you mean we got to share 50-50? Why don't you do your job?"
Oh yeah,
Right?
right.
Because when I come to your house, you're not going to give me the same thing.
Yep.
Maybe you got to become a little bit more confident in yourself, asking what you're worth and stuff like that. I do think that is another place where confidence comes in. But anyways, that's what I charge.
Yeah. Well, and I had a similar situation last week. I took 2 land listings, good sized land listings. One of them's almost a 7-figure land listing. Um, and they, and I thankfully I know a lot of the builders and developers, so I'm going to market this straight to people that I've got in my cell phone. So but I know the level of work it takes to sell a piece of land. Land is hard to sell. And when the client approached me, and this client I've done 7 pieces of business with in the last 2 years. So when they came to me and said, "Hey, we would like to move these. Do you think you can?" I'm like, "I do think I can. Here's the prices I think I can move them out, and here's the commission on those." And they said, "Can you do any better?" No. Okay, great. We'll sign. And they
Yeah.
signed because I know what I'm going to have to do to sell them. I know, and honestly, like I have the contacts they don't have, and many others don't have.
Yeah.
And there's value in that. And if they want the price they want, I've got to go and find those people.
Yeah.
So I took, those commissions are higher than the average commission, partially because it's land and partially because that's what I'm charging.
Mhm.
And they didn't balk at it. I said, "This is what I will do for you. This is how it will go down. These are the terms." When they pushed back a little bit, my answer was just no. And they're like, "Okay." And they signed the listing agreement that afternoon on both of them. It's just but again, I came from a position of confidence knowing that I don't need these listings. I'm not gonna put my name on these and watch them die on the market. Now, could they still die on the market? Absolutely. Selling land is a crapshoot. You need to find the right person at the right time that needs that project. But I feel like I've got a very high probability of selling them, and I know what that's worth.
No is a complete sentence, and it's the most empowering
It is.
one-word sentence
Yep.
that you could ever master, right?
Yeah.
And it does take confidence. Can you do any better? I'm just going to use it. Let's say it's like, I think I can move it at 119, and this is my commission. But do you think you can do any better? No, I think 119 is the max.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even open. It's not even
Yep.
open for discussion. You know what I mean? Oh, can you do any better on? No.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
These are the terms at which I will be able to operate.
And that's a part that I think a lot of, I mean, yeah, it's called a negotiation and all this stuff, but these are your terms. This is your business. This is your world.
Mhm.
This is your reality. You charge whatever you want to charge. And this is why I've always said that, the bio world is in for a very interesting awakening as this whole, we don't have to offer anything evolves through these lawsuits and things like that, that are real. They're impacting
Mhm.
us. It has changed the way MLS and stuff display commissions and things like that, or whatever your marketing fee, right? And don't get me wrong, you're worth every penny, right?
Yep.
Just ask you, and it's changed, but it's going to get to a point where if you're not confident communicating your worth to somebody,
Mhm.
then that's what you're worth.
Right.
Does that make sense? That's what you're worth, because there is going to be a time here in the near future. It's already upon us. It's been upon us for 10 years. that if you think that you're worth X and somebody's offering Y, who makes up the difference?
Mhm.
So many people are like, oh, I don't charge my buyer. Well, what if that number was 0? Right?
Mhm.
You're going to have that confidence. So I think working on confidence, working on scripting, absolutely vital for survival.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
the one
I,
warning I would give is there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and just
mhm,
make sure you're not crossing it because
yeah.
people clients even if clients choose not to work with you because you're taking a stance on what you will and won't do, they
Mhm.
will respect that confidence. They will not respect an arrogance where you are better than that or you are that is below what you will do.
Yeah.
There's a confidence in your value and then an arrogance in what you will and won't do, and it's one of those fine lines you got to be careful not to cross.
Yeah.
All right.
Onward. What else we got? That was good.
Last one for the week. Yeah. And this has actually been interesting lately because I feel like this is a huge misunderstanding in the marketplace right now is that in many cases, price is not the deciding factor.
Mm,
And we've seen a lot of sellers lately accept offers at a lower price because they liked the terms better.
yeah.
And I think over the last few years, terms didn't matter because everybody waived everything. It was, I'm going to bring you a big duffel bag of cash in 30 days and I want nothing from you. We've kind of forgotten about the terms of the contract because you've got what kind of financing is it? What kind of deposit are they putting down? What kind of down payment they're going to put down? Are they going to do inspections? Are they going to, they're going to need all these things? Because I think sellers right now are looking at it as I've got one shot to lock up the property I'm going to, and I need this to sell. And I can't have this person come back in 10 days and expect me to do $10,000 worth of repairs. I'm not doing it. I need this thing to close on time.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think a lot of the focus is turning back to the terms because sellers, what do sellers want more than anything? They want the house to sell.
Yeah.
They need the confidence, again, the word confidence, that they can go and buy that next house because this one's going to close and allow them to do that. What they do not want is stuff to come up that either terminates the contract or delays the closing because that then delays everything they've got going and messes up their plans. So more than ever, we are seeing sellers that are very focused on terms. Which one of these deals is going to close? And in some cases, that is, it comes down to, financing terms or things like inspections. But in some cases, it's also the agent you're working with. We have, as we talked about last week, there are situations where there are agents you see put offers in, you kind of go, I would love to work with that person. I know whatever happens, we'll work through it. We'll get this thing to the closing table. There are other agents who put offers in and you go, oh man, I do not want to work with that person because they're going to try to sidewind us at the 11th hour. And I know this is going to be bad. And the sellers want to know that. They want to know who's on the other side. So now more than ever, sellers care about terms. They care about what's going to close, and part of that is the reputation that you've given to the marketplace on whether or not you're somebody who gets it done or makes it difficult.
Yeah. NLOs, we're talking to you too.
Oh, 100%. I honestly, like we've seen offers come in with Rocket Mortgage or somebody like that, and we're like, no, we won't. No, done, dead in the water. If it's not a local lender, we're out.
Yeah.
Because we have had so much difficulty with those big national lenders, even the big banks.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in their marketplace knows those 2 or 3 lenders that you absolutely don't want
Mm-hmm.
because they don't communicate and they don't get things closed.
But you also know that dozen that when that comes across your desk, it's like solid.
Yep.
Right. Because they're not going to waste their time.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, I had, in terms are critical and it's important that you explain that too. Now I want to explain something. I had a property that listed in Merrimack years ago and it was probably 2014, 15. And property would be over 500 now, but at this point I listed it at I think 389. Everybody's like, "Oh, you'll never get that." Highest one sold in here was 359. Again, worked with these people for a year, staged it, neutralized it, took down the wallpaper, everything was, ripped up the carpets, hardwood down, right? They invested into their home. They're
Yep.
getting it.
Yep.
3 offers that came in. 2 were under asking price. 1 was right at asking price. 20% down, conventional, $10,000 deposit, right? Looked all great. 10 days for inspections. So we give our word, and I'm waiting for, I sent off the DocuSign to be signed. Now, all of a sudden, another offer comes flying in off the shelf after we already asked for highest and best, late to the party, and everything else like that. And my advice to the seller was, listen, I would never say no to a showing. and I have to present all offers.
Mhm.
So just let it happen. Then the offer comes in and it's $395, blah blah, right, over asking price. And of course, every seller's like, right? That sounds yummy, especially when we weren't in that world yet,
Yep.
right? We weren't in that world yet, and they wanted more. And I said, listen, I often find that these offers that come in
Mhm.
late to the game are not as good as the person when you ask for highest and best put their best foot forward.
Right.
This person's just trying to buy it. And I always find that when we go into contract on these kind of things, issues, they get out, then we go back to the person and they say no, you end up getting less. That's been my experience. Don't get greedy over $5,000. They didn't like that word greedy, but anyways, but that's my experience.
Yep.
So my experience as a listing agent that has sold a bunch of homes was, don't go for the higher price one. This person's already mentally invested. We already have I've already sent the contracts to you for signature, right? We're all in on this one. Great terms, great lender, everything. Don't go off the rail because karma is a son of a gun.
Yeah, and what I will say too is that the offer that when you get an offer from somebody and there's a big sense of urgency behind them getting that offer in, it's the first one in that you get it like an hour after they've seen the property.
Mhm.
That shows a level of seriousness and commitment that the person that drops it in your inbox an hour before the deadline um, either likely doesn't have.
Mhm.
So I love to see those people that are like in a rush. The agent's calling, "Hey, do you have any offers? We're gonna get one in." Like you can feel that urgency in their voice and what they're doing.
They're working.
Those are the people that are working really hard to get this.
Yeah.
And if that's what they're doing right now before it's under contract, I imagine that's how it's going to go once it's under contract.
Yeah. I agree.
So,
But terms are to me as important as price, if not
yep,
maybe more important in some instances.
yep, yeah. In the last couple of years, when everybody waived anything, it didn't necessarily matter. But now we're back into you know a battle here where you have to have the best offer, not just the best price.
Yeah, man.
So, all right. So I this is something we've been talking about internally here for I feel like a few weeks now. But I sent out an email this week. Just I just kind of share some thoughts middle of the week each week on what's going on, observations, things like that. And I sent an email out this week looking at implementation. I had a conversation with Brian Brown a couple weeks ago, and he and I were talking about this industry is full of education and learning. You can learn anything from anybody at any time in all kinds of formats, whether it's podcasts or books or YouTube videos or their social media or events. Like you can learn just about anything from anyone anytime
Hmm.
through a various medium. However, what are you doing with it? And what we were saying is that this industry, we have an 87% failure rate in this industry, and it's not because there's no education. The education is out there. The issue is the implementation of the education. Are you learning with the intent to learn? Or are you learning with the intent to do something with it? And I know I'm guilty of it. I've got a folder full of free downloads. Get my free this, my free that. That I've like, oh, I got to have that, and I download it and I put it in a folder. And what
Hmm.
do? I never go back for it.
Yeah.
Or I leave an event with a page full of notes. And I'm all jazzed up about the stuff that I'm going to implement, and then it sits on the shelf for a month.
You ain't gonna implement none of it.
Right? Because ultimately, 9 times out of 10, we get all this learning. We get really excited about it, and then it sits on a shelf and go right back to doing what we're doing. And honestly, I would encourage everybody to go back and look at the free downloads you've had, look, the videos, re-listen to those podcasts, reread those books, not with the intent to just learn the material, learn the concept, but with the intent to find something in there you can implement right now that'll make a difference in your business. Because the implementers are the 13%. The learners are the 87%.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, man. I believe, and we always need to be evolving, working on self, whether it's personally, business wise, whatever it might be, internally, whatever. Um, I believe that we need to spend time and energy, but it's just like anything. And it's funny that we're talking about this because I almost posted something this morning and then I deleted it. But it's my mindset now as somebody that has onboarded for one of the largest associations in America, as somebody that had a focus of ending that 87% failure rate, as somebody that took that on, I'm done with it. I don't want to help there anymore, right? And I don't mean this arrogantly or anything
No.
else like that. Of course, I always help, but my focus isn't that. My focus is working on the 13%, more so the 12% who wants to become the 1%. Okay.
Correct.
That's my focus, is working with the 12% who wants to become the 1%, helping them with video, digital, and social, right? Not to hijack what we're talking about here, but it comes a point that people, they have all their accreditations, they have all these initials, maybe it gets you business, maybe it doesn't, right? They get so busy, and it's kind of like what we're talking about with social media a minute ago, making videos and stuff like that. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. I don't ever want to be busy. I don't. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's not a good
I'm
feeling.
more productive looking out the window with a cup of coffee, thinking about something.
Yep.
Right? I don't want to be busy. I want to be productive. And so I think they spend their other time learning this or getting this software, and they do nothing with it. Signing up with this program and signing up with this program. I've experienced it with other agents when I was an agent, watching all. You still doing this? No, I stopped doing that. It's just like any habit. It's just like New Year's resolutions and stuff. After 13, 14
Yep.
days, and you're back eating those steak and cheeses, though, aren't you? Right? Not going to the gym.
Yep.
3 times a week, 1 times a week. You haven't been in 10 days, right? I
Yep.
mean, it's the same thing, where that's what I've learned from Jeff is the success of you guys' group is he comes in every day, does the same mundane task the same way every day. Right? Why? Because it works.
Yep.
Right? Because it works. So don't get carried away with becoming having analysis paralysis or becoming the professional student. Right? All these other
Yeah.
things you've got to implement at some point.
Yeah. And so the way I look at it is, we have an 87% failure rate in this industry. The 87% are the learners that don't implement. The 12% are the learners that do implement, and the 1% are the learners that implement with intention.
Yeah.
Like I honestly think the difference is you going from learning to implementing to being intentional with what you implement. And that comes from going to these things, looking for that one thing, not trying to implement 10 things, not trying to implement 5 things, not trying to implement a couple of things, sort of, kind of, or for a little while. It's the intention of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to commit to doing this over the long haul. Because if you, everything works if you do it long enough and consistently enough. Nothing works if you do it for a little while and quit.
Yeah. And listen, I'm guilty of this. I know you're guilty of it. We're all guilty of what I'm about to say, right? Is trying to do too much, right? We want to do all these amazing things, but then we become almost like jack of all trades, if you would, where if you only have a finite amount of time every day,
Mhm.
only a finite amount of mental energy, physical energy, mental capacity, right? You got to implement in the areas that you want to succeed in.
Mhm.
If you're not giving your attention there, then how can it grow?
Mhm.
Right? How can it thrive? And implementation is as old as Chinese proverbs, right?
Mhm.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yep.
They're talking about implementation,
100%.
right? What do you think holds people back from implementation?
Honestly, I think it's a lot of things, but if I could dial it down, it's really I think it's partially the unknown. It's, I don't know what to do first.
Knowledge.
Like, I've got this great idea and I don't know how to actually put it in place. And I think the other big piece there is that we don't actually commit to the time. So, like what I said in that email is go back and find the one thing you can implement from all these things you've been doing, or whatever podcast you just listen to, but then actually go schedule the time on your calendar, commit to the window of time to go take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you put it on that someday list, someday is not a day on the calendar. If you put it on the someday list, someday never comes.
Yeah.
But if you
That's
put
the
it on the
13th month.
Friday, right, exactly. If you put it on the Friday list, Friday is going to show up, and you're going to know you have to do it.
Dan Stewart from Happy Grasshopper taught me this. I think it's some Six Sigma stuff, but he calls them rhythms. What's your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually rhythms?
Yep.
Right? What is it that you have to do? Rhythms get done every day or every quarter, every week, whatever that rhythm is, that process, that standard operating procedure, right? It's the same stuff, just different words, right? Different system.
Yep.
But what is it that you have to do every day? What is it that you need to do once per week? On Fridays from 12 to 1, I got to send out my seller reports.
Yep.
Right. Well, you can make those sort of automated, right?
Right.
Maybe you're making your seller phone calls. This way, when you meet with your seller, you can say, hey, listen, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to send you a report every Friday. I'm going to call you too to make sure that you got the report. Right. I'm not going to talk about your property, any issues that are coming up. Now, all of a sudden, you got a rhythm. You know, I can't go out for martinis, Tom. Right. Because I listen, as somebody that's been around a lot of you people, I know that we can go out for lunch at 12 o'clock and it turns into 4 o'clock real quick.
Oh yeah.
Right. Don't do that. This is where, listen, you hit on something, and this is a segue for UPAD, understand, plan, action, and discipline. This was the first training that I came up with. And it overlays with Michael Gerber's entrepreneur management and technician, the 3 levels of business.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And the management level is responsible for understanding. Right. And you had said when I asked that question, most people don't understand or have the knowledge on how to. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding is the first. Get full understanding. Then P, plan. UP, right? And then A is where the technician comes in. Get that plan. Now you understand what's needed, the resources that are needed, the steps that are needed, the legal requirements, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Now you make a plan to do it. And now in that plan, you have an action date and you got to put it into action. That's where you as the technician steps in and do whatever it needs to be done.
Yep.
But it's the last one, which is the hardest one, to keep going to the gym, to keep not eating those steak and cheeses. And that's
But they're so good.
It is so good. And that's discipline. Discipline creates freedom, right? Discipline creates freedom because what happens is discipline allows you to create the level of income that you want through that dedicated activity. So you can eventually do only the things that you want to do. But the cool thing that discipline creates is accountability. And that's what's missing in most people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
I just solved world's problems.
Yeah. It really can be that simple. And I go back to, go to learn, find the one thing you can implement, get it on the calendar, go and implement it, and then implement it and stick with it. And some people say, well, I can't do this forever. And you shouldn't. You need to do it for long enough where you can now kind of master it and understand it. And then you either automate it or you delegate it. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do either of those things, then maybe you do have to do it. But if you get to a point where that's running well enough where you can kind of hand it off and let that keep going, now you can go implement the next thing. And that is ultimately when you look at the team model and what we do, that's what we do. We implement something, we get it kind of humming along, and then we either automate it or delegate it to somebody on the team. And then we go find that next thing.
That's what's happening within our own ecosystem, right? It's happening right now.
Exactly.
I'm on to working on other things.
Right. We can't implement 5 things at once. We've got to implement one thing, fine tune it, and then automate or delegate it. Then once that's done, you put the next one in, put the next one in, put the next one. You keep making these progressions. But to do that, you have to have the discipline to actually do it, master it. And then you also have the discipline to follow through and either automate it or delegate it. And some things you honestly can't automate.
Some things you cannot.
You have to delegate them, or maybe some piece you have to keep. Like I look at like our direct mail. Those are an ink signature. Jeff always signs those.
I got you.
But he doesn't have to be the guy that pulls the list, merges the letters, prints the letters, stuffs the envelopes, puts the stamp on it. But he's got to sign them. So there's one step in the process that you can't take out. Mm-hmm. But if he literally has to spend 20 minutes a day signing a stack of 500 letters so they can go in the mail and generate listings, he's going to do that because 95% of the work is being done by somebody else. Yeah. And in some cases, he's down there stuffing envelopes too, because we want to get more in the mail, and that's totally fine. But there is the opportunity to delegate nearly that entire process, but there is one piece you can't.
So mastering UPAD creates that accountability back to your own management level. And I think people are not inherently designed to be managers. And you see this failure in the sales world. This guy's a hell of a realtor. He's going to make the best sales manager. No, he's not. No. He's a hell of a realtor.
Yep.
Right. Very frequently do you find a hell of a manager. Right. This guy sells a lot of cars. He's now our sales manager. So a lot of people only base stuff on closing. Right. Mm-hmm. But my point here is oftentimes if you are not working on self, becoming a good manager, then delegation turns to abdication, and abdication will sink your business.
It will. And I think sometimes, and we're all guilty of it, we get comfortable enough where we just kind of like let things go completely.
Mhm.
And you always have to be in that trust but verify mode.
Yeah.
I'm trusting that it's happening, but I need to at least go back occasionally and verify it. And when we don't do that, and we've all done this, that's when you realize, oh, wait, that's not happening anymore. Well, what happened? Why not?
Yeah.
And things break. And when we completely take our eyes off of it, things can break in a big way.
I audit everything. Right? When I
Mhm.
get a free minute and I'm burnt out and I need some inspiration, I like to go look at every video, right? We have a system in place for reviewing the videos and stuff like that. I'm not sitting there reviewing every video, but every
Mhm.
so often I go back and I take a look at, all right, where are we? Where are we with the standards? Making sure that everything's being met to get my own inspiration. But every once in a while, I'm like, oh, why are we using this logo? Right?
Yep.
It has a TM, not an R.
Yeah.
Right? Even the micro things,
Yep.
right? But I think you have to constantly audit. That's part of delegation. It's right. Reciprocal is that you're handing it off. You're trusting somebody, giving them the responsibility. You're verifying that it's being done
Yep.
to your SOP, to
Yep.
your standards list, and then the circle continues, right? And then
Yep.
you hire somebody else for the next part and delegate, and then to the next part and delegate, and then to the next part and delegate. Your job 100% is that validation, that verification, that constant audit.
Yep. Yeah.
Or
Because
it's somebody's job.
exactly. And verifying does not mean micromanaging. It does not mean,
Mhm.
making sure that everything you're doing every time they're doing it and you're controlling what they do. It's just going back to make sure that what the end result is what you expected it to be. And I think that's the important part is that a lot of people will follow the SOP. They'll do what you ask them to do. When you start to micromanage, you start to irritate people because it shows you don't have the trust and you've lost the first part of that equation.
100%.
So
I believe that too. Wow, that we talked about a lot of stuff.
I
There's a
know
lot of unpacking that could go on.
could keep going, but we got to wrap this thing up here in a minute. So
Could keep going. That was like psychology 301.
well, I mean, and honestly, like in this shifting market, we're seeing a lot of that come out. Like we're seeing scarcity mindsets, and we're seeing fear, and we're seeing uncertainty, and we're seeing doubt. The old FUD. We've got FUD out there: fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Mhm.
Go back to my corporate days, but the industry right now is full of that. We have a lot of agents and lenders and title officers and all that are making decisions right now, not based out of what's best for the business, but because of the situation they're in right now. And whether that's agents that are moving around brokerages because I think the grass is greener on the other side, or chasing a better split, or um, trying to start new things when they because something else is broken. I tell people all the time, you can do as many things as you want in this business, so long as you've got systems and leverage in place to allow all those things to run. If you try to do everything for everyone and you're the person actually trying to physically do it all, you just can't.
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of times people look at us and go, well, how do you guys do so many things? Because we're not the only ones doing it. Like we have a staff, we have leverage, we have operating partners in these various businesses. Like we have people with us that
Mhm.
are kind of running point. And then we're providing kind of the oversight and all that to it. But we're also out there building relationships and finding clients for it all and finding people for it all. And so when you look at, am I running all these businesses? I'm overseeing them, but what I'm doing is I'm out networking, building relationships to bring more people into them.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to actually operate them, because if I tried to operate all this stuff, it couldn't be done.
Yeah, you don't want me in there either.
Yeah, no, I know. That's we know. No, it's
Don't bull in a china shop.
but I mean, but that's a great example. When it's not, I couldn't do what you do.
Hmm.
I mean, I could do it to be terrible. So I
Yeah.
could go through the motions, but I can't be you, you can't be me. But
Well, that
that's
all comes down to this. I'm going to give a good little plug to the 6 Types of Working
that's a great
Genius,
book.
right? Everybody should read this, especially if you're in some level of management or um, uh, entrepreneurial
Yep.
position.
That's a great
Know
book.
what your strength is and leverage the rest out.
Yep. I couldn't do what you do. You can't do what I do. I couldn't do what Jeff does. Jeff couldn't do what I do. Jeff couldn't do what you do. But it all goes around in circles. But we've found the people that fit the things that we need, the holes that we have. Same thing for you. And that's where it works. If you just continue to bring in the same people or try to do everything all by yourself, you can't be a lone wolf in all these different things. You have to have that team, that structure built, or it all just implodes.
Yeah. Don't be the lone wolf. Be
No.
the pack leader.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Or be part of the pack, man. You know
yeah,
what I
that
mean?
works too.
Be part of the pack.
That works too. That's possible too. So, all right, Johnny Mo, we got to wrap it up. So, what do you have for a parting thought this week?
A parting thought for me is fear is real, negativity is real, but so isn't positivity. So choose positivity. The economy probably will have some ebbs and flows because that's just what it does. There's opportunity in all of it. Position yourself the best that you can to take advantage of those opportunities, whether that's working with investors, whether that's becoming an investor yourself, whether that's becoming a flipper yourself, whether that's finding investment properties yourself, finding land deals yourself, educate yourself, position yourself, cut debt, and position yourself to take advantage of whatever the economy might throw at you.
Yep.
There are fears out the window.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. What I'll share is now more than ever, it's important that we're operating with intent. It's not just about, to steal your phrase, Johnny, it's not just about being busy right now. It's being purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now a lot of people are chasing as many things as they possibly can because they're afraid of what might happen and what they need and what they have to get.
No.
But if you're intentional with what you're doing and you're not just trying to be busy, but you're actually being purposeful in the actions that you take, that makes all the difference. And honestly, 38 listings in 75 days or whatever we're at, um, that's not by accident. We didn't just like wake up and hit a couple of, run into a couple of listings here and there. It's because we've been performing the same activities day after day after day after day.
Yeah, every day.
Yep.
Every day. Right?
So, yeah.
Without fail. And if not today, then when? That's the question I think everybody needs to ask themselves. If not now, then when?
Right. Exactly.
Go ahead,
Exactly.
blow your time block off today. If not today, then when?
Right. Well, and in the last 2 weeks, we put 20 properties under contract, listings and buyers. So
Man,
the business is out there.
I want to talk about somebody on your team real quick. I know we're over time, but
sure.
You got a young cat on your team, 21 years old, right?
Oh yeah.
He has over 20 properties on the contract right now.
Yep.
A lot of listings. Right?
A lot of listings.
So right there blows everybody's excuse down the drain. He's young. He got a bunch of listings. Why does he have that though? Why?
Because he comes in when he's working, and the beauty of it is he doesn't even work 5 days a week. When he comes in and when he's on, and he's generating leads, doing the follow-ups, taking the appointments, signing the listings, getting people under contract. He's picked up some new construction. I mean, he's picked up all kinds of things. But again, it goes back to young guy, no database because his friends aren't buying houses at 21 years old. Yeah. So he said, fine, I'll go find people that are. And he has. And he's having a massive year because he's just doing the actions.
He's having a massive year
in the first quarter
when inventory is historically low.
Yep.
And people are trusting him and he's getting listings. So
he's a machine.
Yeah, I think right there, testament to Will, man. Testament to him. He's great. And I'll vouch for him. I went upstairs to the upstairs office last week and I poked my head in. The only person there making calls was him.
Yep.
And so I see him doing the work. But when I heard that in the meeting, I'm like, wow, that's great. So many agents don't even sell that in a year. This kid's got it on the contract, and it's not even the end of the first quarter. It is actually today.
It's not even the spring market yet. So
right.
Yeah. So. It's a testament to if you again back to intent. When he's working, he is working. He is focused on the actions that lead to business and nothing else.
Yep. Exactly. All right, we got to go.
Yeah. Good one, Johnny Mo.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.